Good morning. Welcome to the Solution Finders. Today I am here with Sonya Binette. I met Sonya at the Dr. Joe Dispenza's retreat, and when I think about Sonya, I think about joy because she has this energy of joy. Hi, Sonya. How are you?
Hello, Una. I'm doing fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here.
Hi, you're welcome. And so, would you like to talk about joy? Should we talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about joy. What can we say about joy? Well, for me, it's just it's a natural frequency that I have. I mean, not always, but yeah, I guess I just love life. I love life, and I see the magic. I see the magic and the awe in life, even in the more difficult times. I just trust and I know that it's for the better for me, the bigger good. And even if sometimes I just can't see it, um, I know that later on I'll go like, ah, yes, that's why I had to live through that. So yeah, it's part of me and it's part of you too, Yuna, because I remember at the retreat you would be singing and we would be dancing to Encanto and I would see that little girl in you would just like come out and it was magic. It really was magic and I think that's one thing that helps me with staying in that frequency of joy is I believe in that magic. And the more that I feel it and I believe it and I live it, the more it happens around me. And it's also a question of attitude in the sense that something can happen and then they're like, wow, this is so wow. And someone else could be like, oh, that's normal. But no, I take it and I have gratitude for it. And the more I'm in that state, the more the universe just amazes me and places things I go like, wow, okay, let's have fun with this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In the retreats, yeah, it was like for me, it was I would really have all this energy and I would dance all the time. And I would put my own music as well when I was not in the in the room in the retreat and sing quite easily. Yeah, I was in that energy, and actually it started with the first retreat, and it was something that I lost before that, um, and because I overcome trauma in the first retreat. I started to do that, to do the dance. Okay, I have to be there when they put the music on, not when they start talking, but 15 minutes before. So I'm going to dance those 15 minutes. I have to do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
And my first event was a progressive, and actually there was lots of people dancing there. It was starting quiet, and then at the end, I was just looking at the people. I was like, "What's going on?" Because it was like a concert. There was all these people, woo, and dancing, and there was even a girl on top of her boyfriend shoulders, like a concert. And I was like, and I was still not
It's very
dancing in
different,
that.
right? It's not what you expect in a meditation retreat.
Yeah,
And that, I mean, even if in a retreat or in another or not a retreat, it's just being open to express who we are. I meet so many people that they just dim down their light because it's like, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say if I do this? And for me now, it's like, I stay respectful of everyone and all of that, but I don't want to limit myself anymore. I mean, I think as you get older also, it's like, wait a minute. And then I have shorter time left, so oh, let's go for it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's we're so many people we try to be all beige and fit in and it's like I just love when I see people express who they are and show their colors. And just a little example, it's funny because I was at a party lately and put on a song and everyone started to line dance. And I'm like, oh, oh, I can't do that. I said, we're all going to do the same movements. So, so I just went on the side and I was just dead. Because I feel the music and the music and the atoms, I become one and it expresses and I move and I just couldn't do the line dance with everyone. I have nothing against line dances. The ones who love it, go for it. But, but for me, yeah, I just had to explode who I was inside and express that. And yeah.
yeah, and that was a good environment to do that, the retreats, because there was that energy of joy around. So it was contagious, and it was. I remember dancing like all the retreats I had done. I was dancing all the time, and when there was the moment with the music. And I remember someone telling me, "I seen you dancing. It gave me a smile," or someone else really, when I was dancing, someone else just passing by, but kind of interacting with me, singing together with me.
Yes, it gives them permission.
Yeah,
When you express yourself in a different way that people are like not used to see, they go like, wait a minute, if she can do that, I can do it too.
yeah,
And it happens many times for me that I just dance wild and people like come and they're like, yeah, let's do this. And you can see it's like a ripple effect. It
yeah,
really is. And I mean, scientifically, as you know, it's been proven, the resonance between us and the energy and the similarities and then it grows and
yeah. And I loved it that sometimes we really started. Well, for me, I would stay in the place where I was sitting, because I don't really like when there is all the crowd. They go all in one place. I like to have a lot of space when I dance as well. And so I would stay in the place where I was sitting, and normally there was someone just sitting there. But the fact that I was dancing, so maybe someone started to, the beginning of the ripple, they would start to join. And I loved when I would talk with someone. Normally, you talk with someone, you explain things, they explain to you. And it kind of starts with, oh, I'm here because I have this condition, I have this problem. And then after a while, you start to talk about, yeah, I had that vision. Oh my God, it was amazing. Or I read about that book, and that's a synchronicity with what happened today. It's amazing. So, like, in a sense, there is that going back to be children, being super excited and wonder.
definitely. And and when we live experiences like that where you share things with people around you or even experiences with animals and there's such intelligence in this universe that's around us, which is us. But I just love it when I like to sometimes just stop and like I go like 10,000 feet up and I look at what's happening and you just see it's a flow. We're talking about dancing. Well, for me, the universe is a big dance. It's a dance. It's a flow of energies. There's different energies that come, higher energies, different types of energies, and it just moves. It moves in it. So for me, part of life we say dance, dance, but also the movement, our movement when we're moving around during our day. That's also a dance. It's a dance, and it starts with our attitude. I mean, when I go places or I walk and say, okay, okay, what type of dance are we doing today? And I interact with new people that I meet, and it's like, wow, look at this, because I really believe that everyone I meet, I'm supposed to meet.
Mm.
Everything, everything. It could be an animal. I have so many lessons that came for me from animals. So everything, so this beautiful intelligence just flows, and the more I can flow with it, the easier life gets. And I know when I'm not in the flow and I become more into my brain and I'm thinking a lot, whoa, it gets more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes like, Sonia, you're off, you're off. So then, okay, just trust. I have to trust because I've spent a lot of my life trying to control my corporate job. I had, many employees and many different places I had to travel. So it was all about control. And that's the game that I put myself in this life. Okay, you're going to start with a lot of control to then find out, oh, what it is just to be in flow and trust. And even trust was difficult for me because it was surrendering. And for me, it was like, whoa, who am I giving my power to? Until I had a big aha moment, and it was, no, it's me. It's me. I'm not giving my power to something outside of me. It's who I am. I'm everything. So it's more connecting to who I really am as my essence and trusting that, trusting my higher self. And I don't go into guilty and saying like, oh, I didn't get this lesson or no, it's again, it's a game, it's a dance. I'm higher self in my material 3D, and it's like, oh, I love me. Okay, you tried. It didn't work. You made a mistake. Who cares? And then I move on. It's our perspective of my perspective of life. It changed a lot. Where I now see that. Well, that's just my understanding. There's me, and then there's reality, and in between there's emotions, thoughts, memories, and that is a lot of programming. So when I'm when I'm experiencing something, I always have to say like, oh, okay, am I now reacting on a memory, a program that I have that's been like in my disc, in my logical disc, which I'm not even probably aware of. So I try more and more to go like, oh, be neutral and have that true essence. Now connect with that, what's happening, and see the higher in it. So these are little tips that help me along my skipping life.
Yeah. I learned to be in the flow. It took me years because I was really on the other side of the spectrum. I was really like all analytical and all um, hyper vigilating, like looking at everybody outside because of what happened when I was small. I had to take care of seeing everything. And actually, I realized that I have very good reflexes. And I think that is kind of some kind of survival thing from when I was very small. Like if someone throws a ball at me, I get it straight
Yeah.
away. And it's really like the attention to the external world instead of the internal. And so I was always focused to the external. So what should I do so that person is happy? So that person is happy. And in the end, you forget completely about yourself. And And I realized, for example, that if someone will say, "Oh, do you choose this or that?" I would have like just a blank, and I wouldn't know what to choose, and I would just have to be super analytical and see. But like there was no intuition left. So I went back little by little with all the meditation, and I did other practices. I did lucid dreaming, I did psyche, um, and I went back to the intuition and to being in the flow, in the sense, and that's the thing I ask myself quite a lot. Like, what do I want to do now, in this moment? And and I have a life where I have a little bit of leeway. I don't have like an appointment every 5 minutes that I have to do that. I have a little bit of space in between. So what do I want to do now? I want to go near the river and stay in nature for a while, or I want to meditate, or I want to do some workout. Um, so I have all these practices that help me to, uh, and the flow is what is it that makes me feel good. I'm going to do the thing that makes me feel good now.
Yes, that I had for me a big lesson is when I had went to Bali 10 years ago. That was my big well, if you want to say awakening. I'm not into these, these words, but everything. But on that trip, I was not spiritual. I had like meditated only twice, and it was like, oh, what a waste of time. Come on. Time is money. Get up. That was my very business. Oh yeah, oh definitely. It was like, yeah, come on, get up. And and then yeah, I had a big accident. And then where I was working, they closed. So it took me like 2 years to physically get back. And then before I went back to work, I said, oh, I don't know why. I have to go to Bali. I'm like, why am I going to Bali? And it was so strong. And I mean, and it was far from, I live in Canada. And I lived alone. I had to go alone. And when I was there, it was funny because I had some experiences, some meditation experiences, which for me were like, whoa, what's going on? And I had knew nothing about meditating and what this other kind of things that happen in our heads can happen. I knew nothing of that. And I had some wild experiences. I thought I was going crazy. But what was beautiful is that not only what I saw with my eyes closed, which were so real, but I detached from everything. I would wake up in the morning and all the plans that I had done that before leaving was okay, no, today you're going to visit this, and eat there and this and that. I threw it away and I said, like, okay, I'm just going to flow. And I mean, I could write a book about this. It was this universe just took me and oh, look at this. Oh, look at here. Oh, look at this. Oh, let's taste this. And it was like, wow, this is so amazing. And I mean, seeing your name, I mean, my name's Sonya. It's not a very popular name in Bali. I'm just walking down the street and then a sign written Sonya right there, like in the middle of the street, like, whoa. I was like, what's going on? It's following me. So yeah, and I ended up, and I'm very curious, I'm very open. And I ended up going seeing like healers. I would say to the taxi people, like, okay, bring me where you guys go. Don't bring me where all the tourists go. So we would like go in these villages like far away, and I would come into these places and these I remember one, he was so funny. He was about my height, he's not very, 5 feet two, and he was all dressed in yellow and had these long nails. And I'm like, This is so cool. And I had the greatest time with them. And because I opened myself to being available, that's where I was able to start follow this. And it's just because of that, because or else I would have just gone straight and not have experienced any of that magic. And it lasted for weeks over there. It was just I would wake up and say, like, okay, let's go for a ride. Where are we going today? And I just trusted when you were saying about the happiness, it was where, okay, where's my joy today? Where does it want to go? And then whoop, I would follow it. And then I would come into a little boutique because I was looking for a little sculpture. And then I would walk into a boutique and then whoops, I would meet, which then I found out was the owner. He would help me to find like which structure little elephant Danish to buy. And then after that, I would sit down, he would wrap it. And then the next thing I knew, I was on the floor and he was giving me a treatment because he was the healer of his village. And we talked for 3 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
I I mean, my head cannot even think of creating these things. So the more we can get out of our head, the more I realize that creation is so much bigger than who this is. So that's why it's so and I say that and I look around you and look at all the beautiful creations that you do, the colors and the geometric shapes and I'm sure that when you do that, you're not in your head. You're just like you're letting it flow and you become a channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 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 I'm careful when I say a channel because I think a lot of people think that, oh, it's outside and it comes in. Well, for me, I also see it's already inside of me and it can express itself because it's all the same out and in. So it expresses itself.
And,
So,
and this sometimes, this shape, for example, I started with the seven colors of the rainbow, and then I looked at it and I thought, oh, there's something missing. So I added the pink on top, so it's eight. And I said, yeah, it's finished. And then after that, I understood that it was the alignment of the energy, and it was like the eight energy centers. But when I did it, there were no words. I was just doing it. And I was just thinking, okay, it's finished or not? Should I add something? That's it. And so it's really kind of from the heart to the hands, and then the head understands later what is it about.
it's beautiful what you just said, from the heart to the hands.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah, because it's yeah. Sometimes there's really just like a urge of doing it, but you don't really know what's the end of it. Like you know when it's finished, and you're in the floor doing it, and then after a while you look at it and you say, okay, I know what's about now. What is it about? It's like,
That's
yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
a
Yeah.
hand there. And then eventually to the brain, eventually later.
Yeah, the brain that goes, oh, this is what I did. Okay.
Yeah, this is what's it about.
Yeah. And that's what's beautiful about it. It's when you let that heart express itself, there's so many colors and different things and shapes that it can express. And I think our mind is just so limited in okay, so when you let that flow, you're on the journey.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of people that they're so anxious. They're so like, oh, I want to get to the end. I want to get to the end of the journey. Oh, what am I doing here? Oh, I want to get to the end, and then be this and be that, and I just have the perspective of we're here because of the journey.
Yeah.
This is here. This is what we're here for,
Yeah.
not this. So, with that perspective of I'm here for all of this, and we know it doesn't, it goes up sometimes, and then so with that, it helps me to, well, every day, if I'm here for this day, this moment now, I'm deciding to appreciate it
Yeah.
and give it my full attention. Because the end, when I'm not incarnated, I'm always that. So if I'm always that all pretty much all the other times, it's like I probably say like, oh Sonia, do you want to go back there in 3D? And I know a lot of people say, wait, bye bye, ciao, ciao. I've been there. But I'm probably saying, like, yeah, I want to go and see those sunsets again. I want to eat that mango. I just
Yeah.
love mangoes. I want to go on that journey again and be even more conscious of what I'm doing, even more and more, so I can live it. I can be in it. And it's not to please or compare myself to anyone else, because that's their journey. I someone the other day I met and they say, oh, I'm jealous of this person. And they're like, why? That's their journey. That belongs to them. Be your own journey, be your own story. So you can't compare. Because most of the time they're looking at you and saying, like, oh, I'd like to be like that. So no, we come here, we express ourselves and yeah. I just I just want to, when I know that I'm transitioned, I just hope that I look back and say like, okay, I lived it to the max that I can. And this max is probably very structured and programmed, I know, but more and more I'm trying to open those boxes, those limitation boxes that I have.
Yeah.
Because it's work also. I just work it with smile. And as I said before, it's not always easy, but I'm just trying to push those limitations more and more and more. And yeah, so I'm going to say, yeah, okay,
Yeah. I
you did a
remember
good job, girl.
when I have moments that like I don't feel it's super easy. For example, yesterday I just went to have a nap for a while. I said, well, I was super tired. I'm going to lie down. So it was a little bit like a low moment, but like a moment on I need rest. And my son came and like it was kind of giving me hugs and like more than normal. And I was like, oh, this is nice. It means that probably that I am in a good place and he is in a good place. We are like in a good vibration, both of us. Uh, Good, kind of surprising, very nice. And I was thinking about being in the flow, and sometime I remember like just walking back home and deciding on a different road to go to. Once I met a fox, and I was really like so. It was so nice. I was like, oh, a fox, and then I thought, look at that. It's just because I decided to turn here instead of there. Then normally I go that other way, but today I came this way, and the fox is here. Amazing.
Yeah, you listen to intuition. You say that, and it makes me remember I was doing a meditation retreat and I was by the ocean. And it was cold. I had all my layers on and everyone had finished and I was still there because I was enjoying my moment and I was by the water And I remember I just heard like go in the ocean. And then my head said, oh, I can't go in the ocean. First of all, I don't have my bathing suit, and then I have 3 layers on and it's freezing. And then I was about to turn around and go back to the hotel and go in the ocean. I said, like, I'm going in the ocean. So I took off my layers, and yes, I did go and swim with my bra and my panties. I didn't care. And as I was walking in the ocean, it was cold water. It was cold. 10 feet in front of me, 3 dolphins jumped and they were spinning around and swimming. I had tears in my eyes. So I just get emotional thinking about it because if I would have listened to my mind, my logic, my back would have been to this experience. I was heading back to my hotel room. Instead, I followed my passion and my joy and I lived that experience of seeing those dolphins and the connection with the water. It was yeah, it's choices. It's choices that we make.
Yeah, and when I went to my first retreat, it was in Malta. It was amazing. I don't, maybe it was the first walking meditation, so it was like the first walking meditation I was doing in the retreat the first time. And my goal was to go faster. I wanted to go faster because I thought that I was going too slow in my life. I was stuck. And so I remember seeing a snail on the side of the road, and I talked to the snail. I said, "See you later. I'm going fast now." And then I start the meditation fast, and I see other people who walk fast as well. Yeah, oh, walking fast. But then I stop, and at that moment, I had this kind of mystical experience of having like plants growing on top of my body. So like flowers from my calves, and then something like from the palm of my hand, the
Wow.
flowers, my hair going like a bush, and so like all the plants, the nature on my body, and I was feeling super well. And from then on, I just slowed down, and I was looking at nature and was more alive than before. And then I came back and I took pictures of the things I seen that I really liked. And I think in the pictures, it looks more alive, it looks more light, it looks amazing. And from there, I think I started to see more rainbow than I started to see the rainbow in the light. In like every light, I kind of see rainbow and vibration in the light. And so it can be the sun, or it can be even like from a car. And and I and I saw, and I think, or I didn't notice it before, I didn't see it. And so I realized, no, 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 you don't have to go faster. You have to go slower and to appreciate.
Yes, yes, totally. And that brings me to I was in a meditation um and the person because I can easily connect to like me and outside there's no difference. It's all one. And I remember the lady was saying, okay, now be the observer of that observer. And I remember my mind then kicked in and said, oh, so it has to be, bigger looking, looking to me. And it was quantic. It was so cool what happened. It was the opposite. I saw the universe and then it came into me and it was like, it was atoms. It was in me. And that's where I went like, oh, okay, that is me. It's we often we try to look outside. It's this energy is me. And I saw it. I saw it. It was like, wow. we are powerful. We are creators. Because that's what we're made of. So it was amazing. And it helps because for me, it helps when I see it because I've been such a big doubter. When I started this journey, I was the biggest doubter you can find because I've had many mystical experiences, but I would get out of my meditation, go like, "Mm, no, no, that's not possible." My head, my logic, my neuron, the connections were not used to seeing that. And so I was the biggest doubter. And I did many retreats. I did many conferences. I've been around many places in the world. Just okay, I'm gonna go and see that. I have to check this out. I have to, I was like a little Columbo. Is this real? Is this not real? Is this a scam? So, but when I was living the experiences, I'm like, oh, now it's real for me because I knew I did the experience of it, so I can feel it. So the more and more these mystical experiences started to appear because I was more open to it, was more open to it. But that experiencing of coming back and knowing that that's what we're made of, it really helped change my perspective on, wow, we're absolutely wonderful. And now everyone I meet is like, oh, they're another expression of this intelligence. Because I just know and I've lived enough experiences to know how extremely intelligent and perfect this field, who we are, is. Even even in sometimes when I'm very connected, the movements that I do, the things that I do, I'm able to be like in beta and 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 look at what I'm doing, and I'm also in theta and in this flow, and I'm amazed. And it's me doing it. And it's not Sonya. I never took a course. I mean, I started doing mudras and I didn't even know what mudras were. I didn't know what they mean.
Yeah.
And naturally started to do things with my fingers, and I'm there like, whoa. You know when you're amazed and it's you doing it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not my ego. It's like, wow, look at the beauty of who we are. So it's like I'm discovering myself. And it's like, oh, look at the things. And then sometimes I just know I see it. I have colors that come out. Wow, I'm just amazed. And I think that this state of amazement and it's like I'm a little girl, like going, this, look at this. I think that's what helps it to express itself, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
anything is possible. This could be completely wrong what I'm saying, but for me right now, that's what's present.
Yeah, but for me, I had sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I meditate, and I got there was someone who told me that they do meditate in the middle of the night, so I thought, okay, I'm going to do the same. And I think it was in the first year of meditating, I had a night that literally I meditated a lot and was feeling super good. And I had this movement that was very, very small and precise. And I thought, this is no way me moving myself. It's some other force that is moving me. And I got words. I think it was something like, I allow spirit to move me, to drive me, and to guide me. Got these words, and then eventually I started to do like you were saying, something with my hands, and I did it in walking meditations in the retreat, I remember once we were together in the room, and I was like, "Oh my God, my hands are so hot." You told me something like that I was changing something. But what? Are you invisible? What's going on?
That's it. It's fun when we play with the invisible. And
Yeah.
I think the invisible is just waiting, like, okay, let's play together. Like, whoa.
Yeah, and actually, often when I feel like it, I'm like I start my meditation asking to be moved because I like it.
Yeah. Well, I often, not often, I always, when I do my meditations, I just sit down and I go like, I have a smile and I just go like, okay, let's have fun and because I'm exploring who I am. I know that it's me exploring me, which is everything and everyone. So I don't put like strict like intentions and it's okay those that do. I mean, I'm not judging, but for me, my blueprint is I just sit and go like, okay, I'm open and I'm ready to go in this flow. And yeah, what we could call crazy stuff happens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There was one that was very interesting. It was like a protection, I think, from my mom. Like I associate dragonflies to my mom who passed away. And once I remember I was in a situation, I was going into an alleyway, and there was a guy there just behind me, and I didn't feel comfortable. But my head was saying, "Go anyway, go anyway." But there was that not being comfortable. There was a stranger at the same time in the alleyway. But a dragonfly arrives really near to me, like choo, and it goes on a bush, and I look at her at the dragonfly, and it's so beautiful. And I stay there for 5 minutes looking at it, and then I take a picture. I completely forget about the guy. And then when it was time to go to the alleyway, I went on my own, and the guy was gone. I thought, wow, this is like my mom, I thought, who was sending me the dragonfly to say, hey, wait a minute, wait when the guy's gone. It was so beautiful because I completely forgot. I was like, wow. As I said, dragonflies are like this. They are big. So, on
Yes.
top of in front of my face.
Yes. Animals are just incredible. I have beautiful connections with animals, and uh, it's funny because I have a squirrel, and it's a wild squirrel, but it's a friend. I when I meditate outside, the squirrel comes beside me, and she just lays there, and she meditates with me. It's
It's so cute.
incredible. She comes and she eats on me, and we're so connected. And the joy that this squirrel has brought me and our family, it's immense. I mean, it's immense. And we call her and she comes to the porch and we can feed her. And yeah, there's so much in animals that I think that some of them are great masters. Great masters could be disguised as a net, could be disguised as a horse, it could be disguised as an eagle. Just it's whatever in your consciousness needs to appear. It's going to appear in for you, dragonfly, and the connection with your mother, and it's just like that. And yeah, I have a total respect with animals and especially horses. I remember a couple of years ago, someone said to me, Sonia, you can communicate with horses. You're very connected. And I went like, oh, really? I'm like, oh, okay. I know I like animals, but let's go and try this out. So I went to this special place where she has like what we call healing horses, and yeah, and it was funny because I had my appointment, and then the two other appointments after me canceled. So when
Stayed
I went to
longer.
my appointment, yeah, I spent the whole afternoon there because I was with the horses and the owner was there like, what's going on? And to my big surprise, um, yeah, I was in front of the horse and like we're talking, I could hear the horse talk to me. And I
Wow.
was looking at the owner and saying, like, this horse just asked me this. And she says, oh, yes, he always wants to eat this type of hay. And I'm there like, my God. So then I was like, and then, it was telepathic. It was, and every horse had its personality. I was amazed. And I was giving her information. The horse was giving me information so I could tell the owner so they could change the food or change the grooming. And I'm like, this is so cool. Yeah. And it was very honoring because there's three horses that just lay down on their side, like just in front of me. And the owner said, Sonia, when they do that, it's in their most vulnerable state. It's because they completely trust you. So when I lived there, it's like, oh, but every animal, we can have that connection. So that just like, broadened my perception of what consciousness is. And then there's plants, there's trees. I also the same thing. I don't know what happened to me. It was one day in a park and it was in Niagara Falls and by the ocean, by the water, the falls. And it's like if I was in another dimension and then I could see all the energy of the trees and they were speaking to me. And there again, they all had personalities and they were saying like, come here, I'll come to me. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, what is going on? And meanwhile, I'm there like, am I going crazy? No, I'm not. And so, yeah, and same thing, it was a dance. I was like dancing with the elementals that were there in that nature. So it like, again, my neurons went, this is a possibility. So it's like it widens.
Yeah.
So when I live these experiences, then for me, I can share them because for me it's a truth. It's my truth, and I share them, and some people may say like, "Whoa," and that's okay because I was for a long time like, I'm not sure about this. But yeah, so I live these things, and it's so beautiful, and I just wish that everyone could, see and live these things. And I have so much more things to live and know. And so that's why I'm always amazed when I meet people because I know that they're a way for expansion. Okay. Okay, this is what I thought, but that's not what it is. It's a program. So, okay, what can you share with me? What can I learn more? They're like teachers. I have teachers everywhere. Everyone, everything is a teacher.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes really they tell you what you you are thinking about or what you need. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember
Signs.
yeah, yeah. In my first retreat, I started to have these visions in the room, like it was in the room, and it was like a forest with birds, and but it was not even 3D. It was like more more than that. I was like, whoa. And then it was like in the same place where we were meditating. There were lots of people, like a park full of people sitting, and it was like the ivory tower in the never-ending story, far away. The ivory tower. And actually, I read the book recently, and there's lots of parts of the book that really resonate with me. And I read it when I was small, and I loved it. And now, like, it kind of, there were kind of synchronicities on it, and I was, wow. Um, and in the middle of the retreat, like at the beginning, I was taking notes all the time. And I started, I was just threw my notebooks away. I don't understand, I can't write anything else. What's going on? The ivory
It's
tower, the
like,
birds.
yeah.
And then I go back to my hotel, and a shop opened, like magic that was not there before, and it has all this beautiful stuff. So I buy gifts and stuff. I buy a bag, and the symbol in the bag is a heart with a person who is diving inside the heart. And it was like when I was having my heart opening that I see this symbol.
Mm.
And so yeah, synchronicities.
Yeah, well, that's more and more. That's what I sense, that it's consciousness. We're just consciousness expressing and playing, and that's why we place things like that, these cues, these symbols. It's like sometimes confirmation. Yeah, yeah, that's it. You're on the right track. Whoops. Yeah. And like we were saying before, it can express itself in so many different ways. And when we're really present in the moment, then we can see those. We can see how life is responding to us because we are our life. Yeah. So everything. I mean, when I first saw the hologram, uh, you know, one of my one of the a moment for me that was like very changing was I was in a meditation, and you know, a kaleidoscope. Well, I saw it, but the kaleidoscopes that we have in 3D is like nothing compared to what it really is. And a bit like the, you know, your beautiful creation there with all the colors and the geometric shapes, and that's what I saw. It- Life was made of all these shapes, and they were perfectly like fit together, all different colors. And you were talking about diving. Well, if you would dive in this, it was like never ending. It was never, there was no material in there. It was just sound and frequency and colors, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And then when I saw like life, well, that's what I one of the things I saw in Bali, like it was all of hologram. You know, it was like if I could put my hand in it, and then everything was like gold and everything disappeared. And so by living those things and coming back, looping back to joy, it helps not to take things seriously when you do know that it is a hologram, it's an illusion, as much as sometimes it just is so real. Just that frequency is lowered. And that's why I try to stay like in higher frequencies to remember, like, oh yeah, this is my creation from this standpoint of this frequency. This is what my world is. So when I have what we can call challenges, it's like, okay, what am I to learn from this? Why am I living this? And I'm never a victim. I know that it's something that my higher self, the universe, placed there to help me evolve. So I never approach things from victimhood.
Yeah.
I approach it from how? am I going to evolve from this? What are the lessons? Because I just want to be like the best expression of who I can be and the most colorful that I can be. And, you know, that's it. With no like strict expectations. I know I'm going to look back on my life and go like, hey girl, you did your best. And that was just perfect because it's always perfect. It's always perfect. And sometimes it's easy. You could look back and say, I like, why didn't I know this when I was like 30 or 20 or no, because it wasn't meant to be like that. It's meant to be exactly as I lived it. And I know now that when I was young, I could see, I could sense, I could see things before it happened, and it freaked me out. And I remember I closed it down. I literally closed it down. And then in Bali, it was like, okay, ping. I think that was in my journey. I said like, okay, sleep, 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 and then we're gonna wake you up. Big accident, go to Bali and poof, see all of these things,
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." And I know that it's me, my consciousness, this perspective that placed this. So I can't be like disappointed.
yeah,
No, in my higher perspective, this is what I created for my perfect life.
yeah.
That's it.
For me, I had some experiences, but it was kind of negative for me. Like I had, and I think it was related to a flat where I was living. I had the impression of having someone behind me who would look at me. I call it the shadows. And it was when I was alone in the flat, was when my mom was there. I wouldn't feel this presence. Um, so I would say it's like a ghost or something like that. But because I was in fear a lot of the time. And um, and then actually I had lots of events who could have woken me up, but maybe they numbed me a little bit more, like losing my mom, losing my aunt, and some stuff that happened during my life. But then I had my children, and I had a very vivid dream when I was pregnant with my first child, where I broke my tooth because it was like a very big beetle. Like those Egyptian ones.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
stag beetle. I think it was a stag beetle who who flies inside my mouth. And at the same time, I was dreaming my cat that was dead for a few years. So I was like, oh my god, my cat! And then this big insect arrives, and the thing I saw, oh my god, it's trying to enter into my mouth. So I really did this movement of closing my teeth, and I lost a little bit of my tooth. It was a dream, super vivid, and it was funny because I seen it in the symptoms of being pregnant. It was vivid dreams. So I had one, and then second pregnancy, I fainted, and it was like the only time I fainted in my life. But actually, when I fainted, I I stayed conscious and I wasn't feeling bad anymore. And there was music and it was dark and it was feeling super good. And after a few years, I I went to a lucid dreaming meeting and someone else was describing something that was the same I experienced. And they call that clear light in Tibetan Buddhism. I was like, whoa! I went into clear light when I fainted. And I was pregnant, so there was that other soul with me, that baby soul. But that was cool, and there was music. And then when I came back, I started crying. I was, oh my god, what I'm doing on the floor. And I told my partner at the time, the music. I was hearing the music. I was saying, there's no music here. Ah, okay. There was. And that was before
Yes.
to start meditating, you know. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. The things that we see, the things that happen. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I had some premonition as well. I was on the negative as well. I had premonition of my aunt marrying without me being there, and that happened. And it was like not. She married because she was very ill, so she didn't have like the ceremony and anything. They just did it very fast. And I had a dream that was similar to that. I was, whoa, that's weird. But that's, I think, because I was in that frequency at the beginning. Like in my first few years, I was in fear a lot, in anxiety, and so, you know, thinking about the worst case scenarios.
Mhm.
And then you start dreaming them, or things like that.
Yeah, well, there's so many things that we can do. I mean, we say that we're unlimited, and it's just because we're limited about knowing how unlimited we are.
Yeah,
And the manifestation, the more and more we now see how manifestating is like so quick. And see, I had an example. I was in my car the other day, and the person I was with was saying, "Oh, I have these scratches on my car, and I don't know where it's from. It's maybe from the person who washed the car." And I said, "Oh, well, maybe they had like a little rock in the cloth that they were like washing." And when I said a rock in the cloth, we were driving, a rock hit our windshield. The
wow.
minute I said rock, whoosh, a rock hit the windshield. I went like, "Oh, that is fast manifesting." So
Yeah.
I said like, "Oh, and there was a lot of money in the cloth."
Yeah. Yeah, it's
The money
manifesting.
happened right the windshield.
Yeah. It reminds me, we were waiting for for a delivery. I told my son it was something, it was a jacket for him, and I told my son delivery should arrive today. And then he came to me and he said, "What time should the delivery arrive?" 4:15. It's now. Ding dong. And it was the
Yeah,
delivery. You see?
exactly. Well, that's it. We'll see when those things happen. I'm like, okay, well, what else?
Yeah,
What else bigger?
yeah. Let's manifest
We've
something.
done the parking spots and we've done this and then we've done that. Enough with that. These are like kindergarten stuff.
Yeah,
Let's stand in our power of who we are and yeah, it's time that we awaken to that,
yeah.
to
I
our
remember.
presence.
Yeah, I remember when I've done my mind movie. I wanted to sell a property, a flat I had, and so I put a photo of the flat, and then I wrote, "Selling is easy and fun." And then actually I called an agency, and I thought, the price they want, like I would like to sell for a higher price. And then I started to look into other things, and I didn't have a clue because it was the first property I was selling. So I was like, I don't know how to get to another bigger price. And then I just left it. And then COVID started. So they closed the agency and everything. I forgot about it. But then I think it started in March, and in May they text me from that agency and they say, "Hey, we are reopening. Do you want to sell it? Do you want to do the contract with us?" Are you reopening already? So I say, okay. And I signed the contract on my mom's birthday, that it's a date that kind of things happened a few times. Like I graduated on that date as well, and she died when I was 14. So like I had things happening on her birthday, like more than once. So I signed that contract on her birthday. And then it was so easy to sell because I had things in place already. So I asked to a friend to go and sign the contract for me. He was in Italy and I was in England. So with the COVID, I couldn't travel. But I had already the paper to allow someone else to sign on my instead of me. And I asked this friend, and she did it. And the other thing, when I called the lawyer to ask for these papers, the lawyer said, "There's no need that you come to my office because we already have your signature." I was like, "Wow!" Like I didn't even go out of my house. And it was the COVID when like it was very difficult to travel. So like I did it completely without traveling. This is nice. So, you okay? Yeah, I'm doing an interview. So he just came back from school. He's 10
Oh,
and to have
beautiful.
his keys this year. So he comes back on his own.
Wow. And I love it, and everything happens for a reason. So yeah, I love it that and then hi, hi. It's like, oh, it's always perfect timing of everything being placed. I love it.
Yeah, yes, nice. He was the one who asked for the delivery.
Yeah, the
For
more we
Leonardo,
into
I have a Leonardo.
yes.
Yeah, we call him from Leonardo da Vinci.
Nice. 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 Very beautiful. So yeah, the more we're open, the more things can happen, can manifest, and yeah, it is standing in our in our power. And when I say standing in our power, it's not like forceful. It's especially now with the divine feminine taking more and more space. Um, because I remember when I started my career, I was, oh, if I'd be a man, it would be much easier. Because I was the woman with all of these men, and I knew I had to like always be, Sonia, you got to be strong. Oh, you can't show your emotions. Don't cry now. Oh, you can't. And I remember saying, oh, it must be easier to be a man. And and now it's like, no, this divine feminine, I'm discovering more and more the power of it. And when I say power, it's the presence. It's a knowing presence that's there and that has wisdom that it can flow. It can flow through us. And sometimes when I meditate and I connect to what I call the Marys, Anna, Mary Magdalene, and the Marys. And for me now, I know because when it started, I was like, oh, I'm not into like really like religious type of personalities until my mind went, "Ooh, okay, get it, go away, mind." And I just know that it's frequencies. It's people that came in this dimension and had these incredible frequencies, and they were like super quantum physics specialists like Jesus, Barry, all these wonderful people. And when I sense that I'm connected to this, because I could feel it, my frequency changes, the la saveur, the type that the taste of this frequency changes that I can know more like, but yeah, it's wisdom. It's powerful calmness and knowing. And more, I could see women now, like um, even in my clients, that they come in and they've given their power away so much, and they're always like, "Mm," And I find it so beautiful, like when people can and express themselves,
Yeah.
express, and that divine feminine is so beautiful. There's so much we can learn from that. That I'm happy that more and more that on different podcasts you can hear the divine feminine, and I mean obviously it's present in men also. It's an aspect of them also, but more and more I like it when like a female
Yeah.
is positioning herself, because we've had so many men, as mentors and up there on stage and this. And it's like, whoa, it's time now that we're taking, the place that is right for us,
Yeah.
and to bring that balance. It's a balance to bring that, because considering that it's all fractals and holograms, for me, the way that I see it is that we bring back that essence of color that was missing, that tint of feminine color that was missing a lot. So we bring that back into this picture. So it is a more beautiful, balanced picture, masculine and feminine.
Yeah, and it's really needed in the world because um, you see how in our society, even in like our previous generations, there was these pretty rigid roles in the family, and kind of dictated by men, because like all the governments, all the kind of positions of power were men almost all the time, and that got like I can see in my family, for example, my grandmother who earned less money than her husband, and believed that that's what's supposed to be, and be in a situation of putting everybody else before her, especially the children, and in a way, and being very religious as well, thinking about that she has to sacrifice. Uh, and in the end, when you sacrifice, it's not good for you, and it's not good for the people around you neither, because then they get your patterns, and and they get the anyway you're not happy, and so you see that in the family, and
Mhm. Well, I think we're a generation that is changing that a lot.
yeah,
And when I was in Peru in May, I organized a trip with a friend, and we brought like 25 people to Peru on an energetic initiation trip. And the women there, it was so beautiful to see them. They're the head of the house. And it's not through ego, but like I was saying before, it's through the knowledge that they have and the frequency that they emit. And yeah, it was very beautiful to see that uh, what they are. I mean, you see it in different cultures where the woman you know, is on top of the chart,
yeah,
and it just doesn't work the same in other places where it's more men that are there.
yeah, yeah. It was one thing that comes to mind is uh, Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about when they started the government in the United States. Um, they took the structure from the Native Americans, but they changed the Council of Elderly Women to a Council of Men.
Yeah,
Because they say, well, okay, that part there we have to change it because our women we keep them down there, you
they
know.
know too much. We gotta keep them aside.
Yeah, and then I read about other things in the Native Americans, like for example, if a marriage doesn't work, it just happens that the man leaves and leaves the tent and everything, all the possessions to the woman who stays with the children and things like that. Like there's acknowledging, and there's as well not asking, not fighting about it. Say, okay, no, it doesn't work. I go out. Something like that. Actually, no, we have divorces and we have lots of fighting going on and things like that. It's sometimes really like the cultures, the native cultures around the world. They have so much wisdom, more than the so-called developed world.
Yeah, well, their connection with nature, just that, because I mean, we're everything that we see in nature is us. It's an expression of us, and they know that. And by having that connection, they get information. They get information. So imagine when you cut yourself off from that. It's because that is so powerful. I mean, when you go to the ocean, and I had a really fun experience where I was in a retreat, and I was in after the meditation, I went into the ocean, not the time with the dolphins, but another time, and it was warmer. I did have my bathing suit on, and it was so funny because I was in the water and just my state changed, and it's not like I became the water, and then I started to move in circles, and it was so beautiful. I could feel that I was the ocean. And I said, okay, let's play with this. And then it was so fun because there was a storm like further down. And I'm like, okay, so I am everything. So I am that storm. So I'm gonna bring this storm to me. You see how I play with stuff? And Una, it came. It was like, and I'm like, oh, coming, it's coming. And it was raining and windy, and I was like in the ocean, like, poor me. So then that experience, confirmed to me, like, we are the elements. We are all the elements that are out there. So by being connected to that, it expresses itself even more through us. So, it's like, because I remember many, many years ago, someone said, Sonya, we can control the weather with our thoughts. And back then I went like, wow, okay, I'm not sure about that one. But what I do is that I leave it and I put it on the shelf in my mind. And I say like, okay, maybe this will be confirmed later on, or maybe I'll go like, no, don't believe that. Because I don't believe everything. But then when that happened, I went like, now I know why that person said that to me. Because he did some stuff. I mean, sometimes it was winter and there was no clouds, and he says, okay, it's going to snow soon. And then half an hour later, it was snowing. And it was like, we were like, okay, no, it's impossible. It's blue sky. No, wow. So that, again, that power that we have, that when I say power, it's like, I feel like, because it's got such a negative connotation, power. I'd rather say like the realization of what we are, the knowing of what we are. We are all of that. So that's why these beautiful cultures that are so connected to nature, they know so much more than what we know. And in my trip to Peru, I met some wonderful shamans, and you just, I one experience that I had when I was in Machu Picchu. I was in Aguascalientes, the village, and all the group was in the hotel, and I just, oh, I have to go out in the village at night. And okay, I'm going to go out in the village at night. And I felt safe. So I started to walk and I let my heart and my joy follow and guide me. And then, whoops. And then I'm walking and then I hear these two girls laughing. So it brings my attention. So, oh, why are they laughing? Let's go and see. And they're in front of a jewelry store and they're looking and they're like, wow, that's beautiful things that are in here. Next thing I know, I'm in the jewelry store and the owner is a shaman. And he had this black jacket with fringes and fur and this long hair. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty, like, whoa, that'd be good for a movie, walk in. Ah. And and then he comes to me, and then I was looking for this type of jewelry, and then we start talking, and the next thing I know, there's no one left in the store but me and him. And he just looks at me and says, what's your name? And I give him my name. I said, Sonya. And then this connection, I'm looking in his eyes and I'm like, I know this man. And that's it. And he says, would you like to follow me? I want to show you something. So I followed him up to his gallery. He had this incredible gallery upstairs with these huge, huge crystals and condor heads carved in them. And he says, stay here, walk around and take all the time that you want. And I was like, ah. So I saw all of these things and I could feel the energy coming out. And then he comes back and puts two stones in my hand and he says, this is for you, Sonia. And he does these things on me. And I felt like so safe. Yeah, I felt it was a brother. And I left and I said, you're a shaman, aren't you? He never answered me. And then when I got back to the hotel, I said, is this man a shaman? And she says, yeah, he's a very popular, powerful shaman. I'm like, okay. But there again, synchronicity and trusting life. I think I literally went to Peru because I had to meet this person. We had to exchange. It was a time in life. We had a rendezvous. It was a time in life. And for me, to leave the hotel, do all that, finish there, everyone goes away. And, I would have written that scenario before and I would have went, probabilities of this happening are very low. But then again, you just, and the universe places things.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I had this similar experience in the sense that it's something I felt that was different because a lot of people, I was in an energy of hiding because I was like in a freeze and hide survival reaction a lot. And really, like I had lots of proof that I was out hiding, especially people who would not remember me. Like I would talk with someone and then I meet them again and they don't remember me from the previous time. So it's like you were hiding the first time, and so I remember when people see me because that was rare. No, and it was like people will not see me normally. So I went to the screening of a movie, a documentary about out of body experiences. And one of the experts there, I was in the public, I was taking notes, and they were all on the stage. And when we went out, one of them really looked at me and he said, "Thank you for coming." And I thought, oh my God, this person sees me. And I thought of that maybe we know from each other from another life or something, because another person who was there did that thing of not remembering me. So I knew that, like, for that person, I was in that hiding energy, and I kind of still was, but this particular person just kind of told to me, and I was like, "Ooh, that's something there." Like this person sees me even if I'm hiding, something like that.
Yeah, it's all rendezvous.
Yeah,
It's all timing. It's all perfection.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I had an experience in Cancun on the beach. It was amazing with a heron, with this big bird. And I had practically like at the end of the day, everybody was queuing at the restaurant, and I was queuing, and I didn't really have a table, but I was in the middle of that. I thought, no, no, I'm going. I need to stay in silence to stay on my own. So I went away, and I ended up on the beach, and it was full moon. It was amazing. It looked wonderful, and there was this big heron in the water. I could hear the noise it was doing. I took a couple of pictures, and I was even kind of trying to talk to it, and it did some noise. And I thought, well, maybe it's answering. So yeah, I was just happy with my evening. I went to bed, and the following day during a meditation, I was the heron, and I was on the same evening. I was on top of a palm tree, and then I was flying on top of the water, and I was looking at the people on the beach, and I was saying, "What's your problem? Uh, you have all these things you're concerned about. Don't care about this. Everything is beautiful. Look how beautiful I am. Look how beautiful nature is. Yeah, I'm going just to catch a fish and I'm happy, you know."
Simple, right? It's so simple.
Yeah. Yeah, but so nice to be like be the heron, you know.
Yeah. And do you see how when you went to the restaurant and there was a lineup, many people would have been like, oh, there's a lineup. Oh, why? This always happens to me. Or look what happened because of that lineup.
Yeah, I went
You
away.
redirected your path
Yeah.
because that's where you had to be.
Yeah.
So that's why, when things that we don't really like happen, there's a reason why. And you would have never had that beautiful rendezvous with that bird
Yeah.
and that connection. And that bird's a mirror of you, in the moonlight and the freedom and the happiness of, hey, you just need fish. I just need fish and I can fly. And yeah. So
Yes.
it makes us appreciate it. It puts into perspective everything that happens of, like I said before, of trusting that we're taken care of and
Yeah.
it's always for our best.
And I think that that's amazing. And I was really at the beginning, I was really scratching my head about it. It was that I read a book, and I started to, and I did the meditations from the book, and at the same time I had some kind of signs, so it was like looking for my angel. So actually, in those meditations, I would meet my angel in the meditations. It was some kind of yellow beam of light, and I will kind of go inside the light and feel very good. And sometimes he will say things to me, and it will be very solemn, like very, I don't know, kind of serious. And and then I go to the to the first retreat, and I have all this. I do all these movements, and I had back pain and neck pain, and it really looked these movements I had, like I was moved in a way that it would make crack my neck and things like that. There would be really like adjustments in a sense. I had this almost all week, and then I go back to my room and I do that other meditation from the book, And what happened there, and actually there that there is a field and there is a part of it you go in a field, and when I go in the field in that meditation, it's a field, it's like grass. When I go there, and I had this meditation where I arrive flying, and this my angel, like this yellow beam of light, it catch me when I arrive flying, and he tells me, did you enjoy my massage? And I'm like, what? And it makes me laugh. And so, he never told me like that. Like that was funny. And oh my God, I got the two things mixed up. Like, is it all the same thing? Like this is from that book, and this is from the other book, Retreat,
Yeah,
and the same characters are in kind of
yeah.
mixed it
Well, I
up.
can tell you something that the universe does have a big sense of humor. Big sense of humor. There's so many things that happen to me, and I go like, ah, come on. So yeah, and it makes sense because it's lightness. It's it's a higher frequency when, sense of humor, joy.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah. Things happen, you go like, oh wow. So sense of humor is there.
yeah. It reminds me, I found myself laughing and making up jokes in my mind when I was doing healings. I think that was like probably the highest. Uh, and even in the room where everybody is doing this healing, and like that's like 1,000 people or more, I would burst out laughing, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to.
Oh no, no, that is
And I
you yeah,
do it.
you're supposed to.
Yeah, you're supposed to because
If it happens, you're supposed to. I've had times that also in the meditations like that in groups and when you hit the giggles, it's just because it's in you and then I mean I don't want to disturb anyone, but I kind of put my hoodie up and I go, oh my goodness, and the more I try to control it, the more it's like, oh, it's hard to control, but it's a beautiful frequency.
yeah,
So yeah, you gotta let it out.
yeah, and it's so refreshing um, because from my experience before, I associated laughing with laughing at someone, laughing about something, and there is someone who is hurt. So I seen lots of that. So I was really like uh, try not to try to see to be serious. Yeah, I think I had that belief that when you laugh or when you joke, it hurts someone, or you're not supposed to, because something bad happened to you and you have to stay in that energy. For example, if you are on grieving someone, you cannot go to a celebration. That was like a rule from my grandmother, and I had to reprogram these parts of myself, like you're not supposed to have fun. School as well says things like that often. The school has to be serious. um, yeah, or actually it's the
No, I, I
opposite.
figure I figure about the grieving and I figure that, once I'm gone, I just don't want people to grieve. Just want
Yeah,
them to have fun and enjoy life. I mean, so I figure that the ones that have moved on, they want the same thing for me.
yeah,
It's like no, it's like we do have to stay in respect of others and things like that for the laughing, but it becomes more you don't laugh because of the personality of it's more for me now, it's more the situation. I know that it's a synchronicity, and when things happen it's like, oh, it's so funny. It's more the flow of it
yeah,
more than the personalities and the egos and things like that. It's a different perspective.
yeah. I
Well,
think
we're all evolving, all learning.
yeah, I think like when it's joyous, it's kind of innocent as well. It's
Yeah.
And one that was it was during a retreat, so I was already a little bit in that energy. Everybody was, and I was having breakfast on my own at the table, and one of the waiters, practically there was this music. It was this like jazz music. I was kind of like a for a while, and then it goes for a while, and then I like, what's going on? Like, is it something is broken? It continues on, and this waiter noticed it, and he went, mosquito.
Yes.
And I was laughing, and he looks at other waiters, and they were like, not participating. I was like, oh, that was fun.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And you know, he did that, he lit up, and then you lit up, and other people around you lit up, and some not, but that's okay. That belongs to them.
Yeah,
But you know, the more you can be in that joy and the fun, and it just, you know, it lights up people. It lights up people around you, and it makes it for a funner place to live.
yeah, and people feels better.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Yeah, that was a great conversation. Had fun.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? Synchronicities we were saying, we'll end it on this. I remember how we met. You were going to an event, you had a hotel room. I signed in late. I didn't have a hotel room. And we had seen each other on a group that we used to be together. And I said, do you need someone with you, you know, partner in your room? Yes, okay. And you know, we had the best time. And then here we're doing this podcast together. And you know, often we just have to say yes to life, saying yes, saying yes, and it brings us to wonderful places. And if we can say yes with a smile, it's sometimes even easier. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wonderful. My art is available in London at the Earth Space in Hoxton. There's puzzles, there's original artworks, there's lots of hearts in time for San Valentine, that is at the end of next week. There will be a nice display outside on Saturdays for the market, and there's merkabas I made. There's a love potion, and there's prints and cards, and heart is sold at House of Leyla in Gravesend. You can buy my cards and necklaces and original art as well. The links are below. In my website, you can find a new free document you can download. It's called Beliefs That Support Us for the Life We Want. And it's a list of 6 limiting beliefs that we can transform in supporting beliefs. And then an example is something that happened just this week. And this is my son, who is 8, who was saying, I'm so unlucky because he will lose when he was playing video games with his brother. So I facilitated a psyche balance with him when we installed the new supporting beliefs, I am lucky. And the same evening, just a few hours after this, he came to me all happy and he said, I won 3 matches today in the video game. So actually, children are a very good example on how balancing with psyche and changing the subconscious beliefs can really, we can really see results very quickly. And that was really heartwarming for me to see him happy and feeling lucky. So you can download the free document from my website. The link is below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like this content, please subscribe, comment, like, and I see you next time.